there, so maybe a plan of they probably won't be planning for it to be down in kitchen, but once they find out that it is, I think maybe get in upstairs, get into the telescope room, get into bathroom, and start opening that floor up a little bit.
Well, that's actually a fun thing from yesterday, is the French teams actually really preferred taking these bottom floor points as their first rolls, and almost consistently went to these ones. And as we both said, and we were saying yesterday as well, they are the lesser seen points. They're the ones that you have less generally got strats for. You'll always normally see the games played, you'll see Aviator played, you'll see Trophy played, but down here, these are people's third place rotations, and yet these French teams across the finals have gone, no, we like going down, we like battling across Mudroom, we like bringing them to the dining and the library and the kitchen, and hey, this is their choice yet again. We're here yet again. Let's see now if we have this French team versus French team who have both shown preference for these points, whether they've got a preference for attack.
Let's see indeed. So we are here, round number 1, finally, for your CCS EU Season 2 finale, which is going to be played out between Supremacy and Dizlown. This one, over the next 3 maps, is for all the marbles, so don't you dare go anywhere. I am sure we're going to have a fantastic game here. It's, I've no doubt, going to be high-paced. They're going to be getting in. They're going to be desperate to get this one won and just have that title against their name of CCS champions. So we can see round number 1, we're going to be attacking the down floor objective of dining and kitchen, and we can see early attention being paid to that master area, master bedroom, master closet, bathroom from Supremacy here. Absolutely no surprises, getting the sledge in there exactly as I suggested, into telescope room, into the bathroom, and just opening up that floor. He's not sticking around too long because he doesn't want to be caught on the reverse of those angles, so it's a case of get them all opened up now and then start rotating back to them when people's eyes are maybe trained elsewhere and seeing what you can find.
Wow, those bullets from Ash were so close, but Dizlown, again, another exceptional frag player and has done so much work for Supremacy. Starts this open from digging from that bathroom above, and this is so much pace that we are seeing from these teams. And to be fair, that's what Supremacy need to respond to Dizlown, because yesterday in their matches, Supremacy were a bit slow in the fight against Extreme, and it became a little bit tooth and nail, but here, they are wasting no time as they find another 2 Dizlown and alive. The player aforementioned as being a big take, and that leaves Sets, the fresh blood on the team, and he's who does find a K6 playing across that landing and waiting for anyone else to come back round, but with a minute left in a 4-1, this is going to be a hard fight for Ease to hold on to. Poseidon still outside, droning ahead whilst holding and clutching the diffuser as Castle rotates back towards the point, and the diffuser is now being planted. Hit and found is just alive, shuts it down and opens this up with a bloodbath.
I tell you what, if this continues, we could be over very quickly. I'm sure that Dizlown are going to adjust and they're going to learn from things that happened there. But there was absolutely no attempt there. If you're going to play a bottom floor site on Villa, you really do need to make a bigger attempt at having some top floor control as the defenders. I suggested it coming into that round. I said that Supremacy were likely to get in there with the sledge, open up that floor, and I think they got at least 3 or maybe even 4 kills from that top floor shooting down through the rafters. So if I know it, then Dizlown should know it, and they really do need to set up ready to repel that. And that means having a couple of players upstairs. Even if you've got your rotations ready to get them back downstairs, they really do need to make more of a challenge of that. This time, not too much of a surprise. They're going to be heading upstairs to AVG. I can't say I'm surprised at all to see them change sites after that. They really do need to slow down Supremacy, because if they carry on at that, that is an absolutely breakneck speed for that first round from Supremacy there.
Yeah, and my gosh, are they rolling in it. Now we talk about familiar points, and if there is one that a lot of teams go to as their first, this is it. So they've kind of thrown that first point in. It has not worked, and it looks like they're going to fall back to a more traditional hold, bringing off the castle and trying to lock down. You can see they're setting up for a bit of vertical and red tunnel and red stairs below. Red corridor, even easy, is also putting barbed wire down on pottery too, so they're going really wide with this lower point defense. And I know we've mentioned it a couple of times in just how this map is generally sided towards the defenders. So you are often expected to win your defensive rounds and lose your attacking rounds here. So every single attacking win that Supremacy get will be a much bigger blow. It's like playing matches at home and away. Goals when you're away just matter so much more, and that is what this is. So Supremacy need to keep this fire, keep this fury, and keep pounding away at the walls of Dizlown. But Dizlown's already on a flicker of health.
Yeah, obviously taking some damage from somewhere there, maybe a potential peak. Or it looks like he's on the roam clear downstairs. He's got Alive with him, and he's got a couple of others by the looks of it. K6 down there with him as well. They're all trying to track down this Valkyrie, who is now locked in the corner of Piano Room. But it doesn't look at this point like Supremacy are too confident on a location, although saying that, Alive is holding a very tight angle there. So I am guessing that he is aware and happy to just lock that Valkyrie in place. And I tell you what, I would not like to take that challenge on the reverse against Alive, because there is only one person coming out of that alive, and that is Alive.
Well, the aforementioned is ready, and you can see the mounting pressure again. They're trying to hit vertical, but they do need to dig him out of Piano. They are waiting and holding the angle. Pre-fires and pops, and there is your premonition coming true as Alive shoots them down, and Sex also holding on above, concerned about the pressure from Bread Door as well. They're putting some above. Eisen is there. Dizlown, though, cooks and finds sets. And there he is, taken out of the equation. So even with his fraction of health, he's happy and going through library. It wasn't Bread Door, it was actually the floor below Bread, in fact. And Alive is starting to push towards 90 alongside Classical. Here's faint footsteps. Gonna fire long, see if they can catch anyone on the far side or take care of the Maestro even. Looking towards the vault, and there it is. Pulled apart by Alive, who again is just such a monster. And another one as Eisen suffers a similar fate. 40 seconds, and it's just down to the Maestro, who is stuck in trophy, and spots are coming out, but there's only so much that can be done at this point. 35 seconds left, and that is all that they need.
Alive really firing things up there. From the moment that he had the angle on that Valkyrie, that fight was only going to go in one direction. It just needed Sledge just to flush the Valkyrie out, and that's exactly what happened. And from then on, I think Alive got a 3k on there. He really is a strong player. He really does like this map, and he's having an absolute field day. 6-0. He really is not taking any prisoners here at all.
Well, look at that. And it's just, and you can see that obviously they've only managed to find 2 frags against them. They're going to go to trophy. They're going to keep refreshing themselves and keep kind of changing up their defense and seeing how they can make it come to fruition. Frost being picked, and we actually talked about this exact operator and this exact point yesterday, and that I actually do really like Frost on this point. I think the expected push here is to try and get inside master bedroom, inside kind of walk-in closet and bathroom, and having a Frost trap there, which we saw yesterday, can actually work very, very well.
Quite a big round for Dizlown coming up now, because they're in a situation where they've rotated off the site each time they've lost, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that can be a good idea to freshen things up. The problem that they get now is if Supremacy run over them again here, and it's no surprise to see them bringing the trap operator of Frost just to try and slow things down a little bit, but if Supremacy have such a superior performance again in this round, then we have a problem for Dizlown, because they've been to all 3 major sites and they've not been convincing on any of them. So then things start to get very, very questionable for them and very difficult for them at 3-0 down at that point. So this is a really important round for Dizlown.
Well, you can see they're setting up those familiar rotations, and yesterday what we saw on this exact point was a very good press from Extreme, but here Supremacy just finding themselves against a team that they are steadily, generally outmatching and out-strengthening and out-battling on all of these firefights. There is the spot against Frost. They know she's just in that little walk-in closet, and they're going to pre-fire it. They'll be well aware that the Frost traps are not going to be much further away than she is, but so far Poseidon is just going to sit and hold the angle and wait as Easy is dug underneath. Are using the Super Sniper 90. And that was actually pretty beastly in the games yesterday, but so far hasn't had any effect yet. Alive creeps up red stairs. They're trying to cut the map in half and find their way with more sightlines into the actual points themselves. And so far they have been able to get so much ground without being contested or out being battled against. It sounded like there was a bit of bullets fired, but nothing that actually hit, and Dizlown's defense has really been pushed out of whack here. You can see the more pressure is coming. Has had to retreat back to Aviator, but at this point, otherwise, it's just Supremacy setting themselves up for another great push.
They certainly are, and with Maestro off the board, that's just information that is lost. We can see Alive now on the Ash, just roaming at will, really, around that top floor. Not really being challenged. Dizlown now getting just slowly and slowly worked back in towards site and just pushed around the map, and they just don't really have any answers at the minute. I don't think they're confident to get into those gunfights with Supremacy too much and trying to hold their own angles, but ultimately just being a move away from where they want to play. That being said, 50 seconds to go. Supremacy seem to have just slowed down a little bit here. Not too much direct pressure onto site, but Tactis will get a kill onto Easy, so that's going to be 40 seconds on the clock, and the kills start to rain in. Tactis trades out onto sets, and that will leave us now 3 versus 2 after a flurry of kills. 30 seconds to go. We've got the Bandit on super low health, we've got Frost on full health, but that is full health that will be lost very quickly to K6. Tactis finishes things off with the final kill onto Rykos, and that will leave us 3-0 in favour of Supremacy, and they are certainly supreme at the minute.
Yeah, this is masterclass levels of how to push these points. They are doing everything right so far, Supremacy. The balance is brilliant, the close down, the drone work, and just cutting this map in half, as I said before, along red, and just really limiting what the defenders can do and what the defenders can play around with is exceptional. And this is almost a better Supremacy than what we saw yesterday. There is so much pace in their attacks and in their movements. There's so much aggression and there's so much coordination that at this point Dizlown are just looking completely left in the dust.
Left in the dust indeed, and we are heading back to Kitchen now. So really, what do they need to do differently? If we look back to round 1, Supremacy were very dominant on this site, attacking it. So what does Dizlown need to do differently? I think the answer is, at least in part, they need to try and hold some top floor control. I think at least 2 roamers upstairs. They know that D-Juice is going to be on the sledge. They know that he's going to get in above them and try to take control of Master, try to take control of Telescope, and try to take control of Master, and just really try to get on top of them, open up those vertical lines, and get kills like they did last time. So I think at least 2. For me, I'm looking at Castle, I'm looking at Jaeger possibly. Get them upstairs and just really try and hassle as much as possible. If they're going to want to work into Master, why not open up the soft wall from Statutory? They've got impact grenades potentially for Castle, unless they need both of them here. Open that wall up, you can play them at range then, and without losing your life, really start to slow them down getting into Master bedroom, hopefully.
Well, that's exactly it. But I think, as you said and put it very well, they're just kind of handing over territory. They're not putting the fight in. And I guess we can kind of hark back to the previous map that we just saw between a well-established and historically tactical team versus a team that is kind of more thriving around gunfights and battles, and that kind of balance. And the difference is Epsilon were ready to bring the fight to X. They weren't concerned about going against Extreme Video. They were happy to be caught in unusual positions and unusual places, and they really found these fights somewhere else. And yeah, it will be great to have a little bit of this top control, a little bit more solidity, but also take them by surprise. At this moment in time, Dizlown with the double, though, is wasting no time.
How about that teamwork as well? That was absolutely beautiful to see. Dizlown's on the sledge, smashes the castle, and you've already got the second man waiting in ADS next to him and putting shots in for anybody that is playing tight in behind that castle barricade. That really good demonstration of teamwork there. As it was, he didn't get the kill. Dizlown then just stepped in and had the freedom to get a double for himself. So that leaves us 5 versus 3 now. We've got at least 2 playing on site. So I would suggest at this point we've got Castle now looking to move upstairs. Maybe not looking to move upstairs. I was hoping he was maybe going to go on Hassel. But down to 3 men, it gets very difficult now. They're going to have to challenge those reverse vertical angles. And really, it gives Supremacy the top floor control that they wanted.
Well, here comes more bullet rain and pressure now as Rykos just holds on for the ride and hopes that that sledge does not find them like something out of a horror game. You know he is coming, and there's only so long you can hold on for before he sees you. But they're currently dug in dining. Now, they do still have a lot of operators still on the table, and although it's 5 of them still up, Dizlown obviously has suffered a fair chunk of damage, and Alive has also taken a few bullets of their own. So far, only Mira and Kaida gone, but Tactis adds another one to the list. Sets rotating up backstairs, almost catches Alive, but Alive backpedaling finds a double, and that was beautiful. Shooting there from Alive, pulls back, opens up on one, and then just pushes through the second. Unbelievable.
I'm pretty sure at this point Dizlown will be desperate to get off the fence. There's just absolutely nothing working for them. You know, I really try not to get on the back of teams too much because, let's be honest, it's easy when you're sat here and you can see everything going on in front of you. This Supremacy team, make no mistake about it, is not an easy prospect to play against today. Look at that. In 4 rounds, they've only had 4 deaths total. Compared to that, there's been 20 deaths on the other side. You know, that in itself paints a picture for you. Supremacy are absolutely gliding through this so far. But that's not to say it will continue. This is a good map for them. Maybe we get onto that second map. I don't want to start looking down towards Bank already. You know, let's give Dizlown a chance here. But it is certainly not going to be easy for them to get anything. They're going to be going to the 4th site now, so they're into the living room area. Try and see if they can get any more joy there. But I don't know, just everything's clicking for Supremacy at the minute. I really, you know, even the little things, you know, we can't possibly comment on everything that happens, but if you notice at the beginning of that round, Tactis ran in and blew a castle barricade with a breaching charge, and he'd already ran out of the building before he detonated it, and he moved round to a different angle of attack, and just little things like that whereby he's just debating the defenders to pay attention to the wrong area or to maybe rotate around inside expecting an attack to be coming from one side and then all of a sudden it's coming from somewhere else. Just really good plays.
Well, you can see that Dizlown in a little word, getting a bit desperate there, trying the Maestro outside spawn pick there, which, hey, it can work, but you know that teams are kind of throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks when they're trying stuff like that, and you've got to keep into consideration, it's great to be a fresher team, it's great to be younger players and make your mark and kind of go in with strategies and new moves and kind of do the groundwork, but at the same time, at some point, that's when you start to learn how to lose and keep that head kind of space in the right place, which Supremacy are a great team at doing. They're a team that has this kind of history and has the knowledge of, okay, we're 4-0 down, we can kind of find our way around this, we're not going to get too bogged down by this, we can keep playing, and you've got to hope at this point that Dizlown are a team that can have that as well, and it's a harder thing for the younger, fresher teams to do sometimes, but as I said, we are far from over. Now, here comes more and more pressure from Supremacy against this main entrance side. Habana is going to start cracking towards the library and find anyone that might be sitting around. The call goes off from KB as well, and you can see, I believe the mute is actually on a smoke. In fact, it's the one just buried around the corner. And K6 finds Jaeger, and Alive finds Easy, and that's just looking like Supremacy are kind of untouchable at this moment in time. Everything, every single thing is going right for them, and it's no fault of Dizlown's. It's just when a team is working this well and this hot, it is so hard to find a battle against them.
Yeah, I really feel for Dizlown here. You know, you look at situations and you think, right, yeah, you've got this angle, just hold there. And I'm sort of willing them on and I'm thinking, right, yeah, you've got yourself in a good position here. And then all of a sudden a kill just comes in from a different angle. Another kill comes in from somewhere else. And there's just very little they can do. They are challenging well here on this breach. In come the flash grenades. We are now 2 versus 5 as Tactis gets the kill onto Sets. 2 versus 3 though, as that's traded out. Aizen onto Poseidon, so that will leave us with Supremacy still on an advantage here, but Rakos fighting hard. Gets a good headshot onto K6. Dizlown now bring it back to 2-all. 2-1 Rakos. Dizlown must be happy with this defense now. Much better than previous. They've kept themselves locked in tighter on site. They've not allowed those angles to be used against them. ADS just burning the frag there. Diju's now down to less than 25 health, and he's got it all to do against 2. There comes the nitro from Rykos to finish things off. Dizlown take a round and just let Supremacy know that they are in this game.
That's what I really wanted to see. As I said, it is such a shame when a team kind of can get bogged down. As you said, the stats showed that it was 20 frags to only about 3 or 4. And that is a really, really hard mental place to be in. And here they are pulling around back, managing to find that fight, find that fire, ending it out on a 2 operators still standing. And that is everything I wanted them to have right now, because this is a team that has fought their way to the final, and it would be such a shame to have it end in just the kind of an unfair smash from Supremacy, where it's not that they were originally doing anything poorly, it's just Supremacy was so well oiled and well synced together. But Dizlown are going to head upstairs to obviously a point that they have already lost once for their final defensive round. And as I said before, it's obviously far from over. Every round on this map is generally it's expected for defenders to take it. So a 4-2 split is still pretty tough, but it isn't the end of the world, I think.
It's certainly better than 5-1, which is in turn almost definitely better than 6-0, which is where it looked like it was going to begin with. But like you say, on a defender, really, if you don't take 4 of your defensive rounds, you're probably going to struggle on Villa. That is generally the trend that we see. So moving on to then a Supremacy defense, with how well they've been playing here, it ain't going to be easy, put it that way. But much better from Dizlown. The only problem there that I find is that site enabled them to play a bit more of a turtle defense. So even when there were a couple of men down, they locked down the site really, really well. That's going to be much more difficult on the sites that they've got remaining. So AVG now, it's the last defensive round. It's going to be very difficult for them to play so tight in sight and to hold those angles in that way. As we can see, Supremacy already making good progress downstairs. That was something that we saw from them last time they actually went up against this site. The downstairs roam clear was phenomenal. If you remember, it was the round where Alive had Valkyrie pinned in the corner, and within that 10 or 15 seconds after pushing her out, there was another 2 or 3 dead. That is probably going to happen again if they're not very careful. That said, easy takes down Alive. 1 minute in, this is better from Dizlown.
Yeah, exactly. It looked a little bit like overconfidence there from Alive, already pushing from Classical Corridor by themselves without any actual map control across any other points as well. Like, you do, you can kind of make those movements, but at least have the rest of your team in the building before you start knocking on the door of the point itself. And now they've just kind of got to go against the rest of it without their talisman player, without their Ash, without their entry frag. So it's going to be a tougher spot, but Tactus at least balances it off, takes down easy with that beastly F2, and there's a big pick there as Maestro is taken off the table. They're trying to get these mute charges off. Unfortunately, both the zaps didn't actually hit it, so they're going to have to go for the old-fashioned force method of just run around and try and shoot them, re-firing and popping bullets towards that vault. But without those open, it's going to be a much tougher push here. They're trying to get a bit more control. Echo still has eyes across his eyes and goes for a quick swing out and puts bullets down the corridor. They know Twitch is sat there, and they throw away an Echo drone in the meantime as well. With 50 seconds left, not the smartest move, trying to hold tight angles, but Sets finds K6 and makes this a harder and harder push in. And there's Rykos taking care of Tactus as well.
Great plays here from Dizlown as the C4 comes out 2 versus 4 now, and it is a huge job for Supremacy from here. 1 versus 4, it just got bigger. Poseidon will take the first of those and leave himself 1 versus 3, but with only 15 or so health on the Hibana, this is going to be difficult. Switches back to the primary and takes the reload. The Echo drone will see him. He does get that taken out, I think, but will not make it round the corner. It was always going to be a difficult challenge with Rykos on the shotgun there, just ready to finish things off. Second defensive round in a row for Dizlown, and maybe they were just having a slow start. I think we've got a game on our hands a little bit here.
And thank the Lords of Siege, Lord Chanka, that we do. Because as I said, Dizlown are a team much better than their earlier rounds gave them a showing for. But here we go to Trophy Statue Area as the opening. And obviously, it's good that they got a little bit of the shift of the momentum before we came to this second half and before we came to the second side. Because if it had been kind of the other way around and they were the ones that were lacking in the momentum, whether the scoreline said so or not for Dizlown, it could have impacted them a bit more than, as I said, a team like Supremacy, who are quite comfortable to be a foot ahead and a foot behind. They're more than happy to find their way back into games. They're very good and tactically sound at finding that balance as well. And as I said before, I'm curious to see how much of that heat and that fire translates to their defense, because they are a team similar to Extreme where they have great defenses, they have great setups, they have great tactics, and they like to force attackers to push against them.
Yeah, I think the last couple of rounds will have done Dizlown an absolute world of good coming onto the attack there. That is absolutely what they needed. That was better for them than winning the first 2 rounds and then losing 4 on the rounds. The last thing they needed was Supremacy getting onto the defence with some momentum as well. So breaking that up, that has been a great first step for them. If they can take this first attacking round in statutory, then they are going to be in a much better position. They're then within 1 round, they've sent a message, and it is game on at that point. I think this is a very important round. I think if this first defence goes in Supremacy's favour and they just manage to break the stride of Dizlown, that they've managed to gain a little bit of a foothold, then I think again it becomes a bit of a struggle for them.
Well, Alive is waiting on the spawn pick, and we actually saw him do this exact same pick yesterday and get a... Well, it ended very different that way round. Rykos is ready for you, Alive, and that is a good difference from what we saw in those earlier rounds where Alive was pretty much untouchable. They've proven he is less than a god, but they're starting to put pressure against this bedroom, going for a familiar take here, going to try and crack their way straight through onto that bathroom. They have a lot of soft destruction, a lot of utility here as Sets looks like they want to load up. They also have Eisen playing on the Ash as well, and Rykos with that F2 is getting himself in a good position too, cracking open the bathroom wall into walk-in closet now. They're looking for control of Master and looking for anyone that might be getting a little bit aggressive on Astra.
Supremacy certainly won't struggle. They're not going to panic because they've lost 1 man. They've still got 4. They've still got a good hold over site. We can see Bandit in there just looking for those tricks as well. Hibana just having to back off now and wait to apply any further charges to that wall. In fact, going to move all the way back out and get on the drones to see if they can get any further information. K6 almost expecting to be challenged there, but again, the defender's doing a great job of wasting time here. We've got Poseidon out there on the red stairs just waiting with the Valkyrie for a potential flank, but is doing a good job getting in underneath with the Ash. If you don't have a Thatcher on the board, this could be a great option to deal with a bandit like that. It's going to force him to move away from that wall and potentially allow Eason to just get in there and open things up. So interestingly, we're down into the final minute now, and things have really slowed down after that first kill of Alive from Rykos. I don't know if we're seeing a little bit of overconfidence from Alive here. We know this is one of his maps. Good kill from there on Tactis, headshot onto Easy. That'll be the Hibana gone, but her job is largely done. Rykos with a second onto D2, managing to get some real momentum for himself now is Rykos. If he can keep this going, he could be a dangerous prospect, but K6 will say not today as Aizen manages to trade out his kill onto Rykos, and that leaves us 3 versus 2. Still in the favour of Dizlown, but they do not have the diffuser in hand, and we do have the Alder of Maestro still on the board.
Uses pick back up. Looks like they're going to rotate and try and push via bathroom. There's 1 and there's almost 2. But Sets just finds Tactis, takes half health. The diffuser is back on the floor. Tries to rotate and doesn't find the door. Oh no, Poseidon. As Sets manages to just pull that final frag out, and you can see the panic as Valkyrie tried to find her way back into the bedroom. Not today, as Dizlown pull back 1 more round and bring themselves to the 4-3 that, if you'd have asked me about that a couple of rounds ago, I would have called you a filthy liar.
I would have been very surprised to see this. Supremacy came out so strongly, but I don't know. It's as if Dizlown just thought them first few rounds were a terrorist hunt warm-up and that the game started in round number 5. I don't know. They've just certainly come from there and took 3 good rounds. Absolutely not messing about there. And one on the attack, so they've kept that momentum between defense and attack, and that's a really good sign for them, because as Supremacy gets a bit of, it's not going to take much momentum now. If they can get a couple of rounds, all of a sudden they're on match point and things turn around very quickly. I was saying part way through there, again, I don't want to jump on him too much, but I'm just wondering if Alive is just struggling with a little bit of overconfidence perhaps. He's been first blooded twice there in back-to-back rounds. Round 6 and round 7, Alive was the first kill in both of those rounds, and it maybe that aggression has served him well so far, but maybe he's just pushing a little bit far. And the reason that I question overconfidence is the way that he moved away from that potential spawn peak. He was waiting, and then he just turned and ran, just opened his back up completely, and Rykos took full advantage of that, and Alive wasn't even in a position to challenge that.
Yeah, I think you're completely right there. Obviously, when you think about how that round kind of came down to those final 20 seconds, and outside of that one particular pick, you do think, well, if Alive hadn't have died there in that situation, you know, would it have been a completely different round? And here he goes, and he at least finds one this time. Okay.
What do I know?
What do we know? He rolls in that confidence, and I think at this point he's going, it'll work this time, and you know, he's that caliber of player where it does work. Now, Eisen's trying to bait a jump out there, trying to hope for more aggression and find a way to cut them off with being so bold, but now you know that Alive is still in that mindset, and to drop the hard destruction as well, that is a very, very big take indeed. It really makes them have to completely change the strategy that they are using. As you can see, they start stacking up on the opposite side. They want to start creeping across as well from that southern veranda and find their way through the building on more of a soft destruction battle and completely forgo pushing against that master bedroom.
Yeah, it was a big part of their attack last time, was getting Hibana in there and getting that wall opened, and it just afforded them the movement that they needed to then push on to the rest of the site and take the round. So that was the first kill. You don't get to choose those. He just got lucky, but that's the luck of Siege sometimes. Poseidon with a good kill there, headshot onto his, and so that's going to leave us now 5 versus 3. And this one quickly going in Supremacy's direction as Alive puts damage on to the IQ, who will be finished off by Alive, chasing him down as well. Sets will go down. Alive's on an absolute tear now. 3 kills on the round, and he could well finish with a 4K as he chases down Rykos here, who does take damage on the Dokkaebi. Will turn round, put shots back, but there will be too little effect at this point. And I think, you know, back to what I was saying about Alive, he struggled for a couple of rounds, but like you say, he knows he's got the ability there. He's probably going to win this gunfight as Dokkaebi comes round the corner. She's not expecting him. No, does get the kill. Fantastic play from Rykos there, 1 versus 4. This is going to have to be an ace clutch, but if you look at where the silhouettes are, they are all broken up. Nobody's playing in teams here. Nobody's paired up at this point, so it could well be one-on-one fights. But with 23 hit points on the board, this is going to be a big ask. He just pre-fires that corner, and it won't be enough as K6 cuts him down and finishes things off for Dizlown. But yeah, I think Alive, what I was saying, we know how skillful a player he is, and suppose if you keep rolling the dice, a player like that is going. I think he played everything to his advantage there. He had some fantastic information from that CCTV camera that just really gave him what he needed to sort of shake that funk of the last couple of rounds.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, he's kind of found his feet again. As soon as I think Rykos started to battle for the top KD of the game, and Alive went, oh no, I can't have that. I need to start finding my bodies again. And you know, now we're starting to see that pressure. Dejeu's 6th picking off the mirror for an alibi again plays into how they like to play their defenses. They like to be aggressive. They like to be a bit out there. They like to have those early warning shots pinged against windows and pushing pressure and information against the actual entry to the point. And they don't like to keep a very static defense too much at this moment in time. And again, that is just fed from Alive. And Curious to see where he ends up setting off, whether they're going to throw anybody towards that master bedroom side or underneath, because at this point, with the way Elias playing, he could either very comfortably take either or completely drop either. So
that's it. It does seem a bit all or nothing at the minute. Certainly more all than nothing in most of the rounds. He's just had a couple of bad ones in there to punctuate the rest that he's done for his team. Sneaky Valkyrie cam just getting placed under the table there. Poseidon's going to try again. He just gets that plant out of the way, and still it won't go into the position he wants it in. There we go, onto the wall underneath the table. So that's going to leave us coming into the action phase of round number 9 here then, and we find ourselves Supremacy 5-3 up in favour in the CCS EU second season final. And they are playing for all the marbles at this point. We can see we've got Alive downstairs just looking to make a nuisance of himself. Interesting to see a little bit less aggression this time. He's kept himself away from the spawn peaks. He's going to keep himself alive into the later round this time. As I said, he had a good round last. He had a poor round or two before that. So he's obviously just slowing things down a bit. And that, again, just shows his experience.
Well, Dizlown is having a bath. K6 is a firefight over the top of the Alibi's shoulder. Not 100% sure why they decided to roll like this, but this is the most chaotic bath I think anyone has ever had. Not even Lush products could get you calm in this beast of a firefight. Seps pops in, the call goes out, and Dizlown has nothing more to respond with, but finds one before trying to hop out of there as Isaac picks up, and K6 is just going to nope out of there, head all the way down the back stairs and go straight down to wine barrels, but the cameras are now in the hands of Dizlown, and they have master bedroom control, but that does not mean they have a comfortable control of the map, as we've already seen. The player has rotated out, is ready to rotate back round, and Alive is still somewhere on this map doing Alive-esque shenanigans. It looks like they're pushing up aggressively to meet the fight at 90 on Classical. It's Rykos is creeping closer, but bullets are popping from the other side. We know they have cams there. They've got Valk, and they've got information, and they still haven't shut down the man that escaped as well. That is only going to cause them more and more trouble as this round timer keeps ticking on.
Certainly is, and with just over a minute left to go, they really do need to think about closing down this roam game, because if those late flanks come through, and with no nomad available to stop that, it means actually placing guns on the flank watch, and that reduces then your ability to push onto site in numbers. We are going to have Thermite just breaching into the vault there. Can be a good location again to push in from, but it does funnel you a little bit into 2 single doors, so that can make it difficult. Unlikely for the push to come directly from there. Maverick tries a bold push into side, but Poseidon will cut him down as he does so. That's Rykos off the board, and now 4 versus 3. Supremacy looking to get themselves onto map point. We can see now the diffuser just being traded around onto the IQ, certainly thinking about a plant potentially. Smoking it was Mute actually just ducks himself out from bar, puts damage onto Easy, and then gets himself back into safety. K6 will down the diffuser as Easy trades that out onto Poseidon, Alive onto Aizen, and that is these roamers coming back to site. The flanks haven't been watched. Easy's deep in sight, and he's got it all to do, but Alive will finish things off with a headshot, and ultimately that was a story of not dealing with the roamers.
Better as soon as that Jaeger was free and let to run, and they didn't hunt him down with the aggression that we know Supremacy have been using. It was a very, very hard round to get yourself back into, because not only are you now knowing that they have people outside, you are concerned about every option, because they rotated out of the place that you are now trying to hold as your be-all and end-all of the map, and they've been very confident doing it as well. So tough place to be on match point 6-3. These are the defender sides that we were more expecting to see in this game so far. Rykos is doing everything he can to keep Dizlown in it, but when Alive is doing the same thing, it's a tough battle between 2 juggernauts.
A tough battle indeed. Supremacy will certainly be looking to close things out here. They are going down to Dining Kitchen, which, as you've said, the French teams do seem to prefer these downstairs sites. So maybe they've left it, you know, as their last site, so they feel that they're stronger on there. Personally, I think the top 4 sites are generally sort of more well defended, if you will. But that being said, K6 and Alive, if they can play that sort of roam game again, but upstairs this time, then Dizlown are going to have a really tall order to get the top floor control that is generally needed for a successful assault on this kitchen side. We've got a very similar lineup to what we've seen previously. Instead of on the mute, we've got Tactis on the smoke this time, but otherwise the attacking lineup seems to be remaining fairly static. We've got the Hibana instead of the Thermite, but at least in terms of roles that are being brought, pretty much the same.
Well, Alive is yet again in that basement. He's not as aggressively watching it this time, but the drones are coming. They know that he did this last time, and he's at least left the door soft so he doesn't turn his back completely to the opponents. But they are putting this pressure in. They spotted him in that corner before. There is Rykos and Eisen going for the close down, Ash and Dokkaebi. And if there's two people that are good at finding people, well, it doesn't matter when Alive's concerned because he gets one and he almost gets the second there. Eisen suffering. Dizlown is there to back them up as the call goes off. Dizlown gets found and Sets is the one to actually shut it down from the opposite side. But to bring 3 operators down to this basement and drop the entry frag is a big take. And here's Sets almost immediately finding another fight. Refiring that catches nothing and then catches K6, who suffers the end of the Sophia. Finally drops the camera. Didn't want to give away a position too closely and is now looking back towards that point. 3 of the defenders still up and alive, but she's almost got caught rotating against the point. Hibana is cracking open that kitchen side as Cactus actually rotates into the firefight and gets dropped, heading down through the hatch and picked up by the Dokkaebi that is still waiting below, like a Sarlacc in a way. But here comes a bit more pressure against the point. Dropped on the stairs. Dizlown with a great take against Easy. The diffuser is yet again cold on the floor and needs to be collected. It doesn't matter how many windows you hold. If you can't get that diffuser, it's not a great round. And on match point, you don't really want to be in that situation.
Interesting movement from Dizlown there. You saw that he took them shots, took the head off the diffuser carrier, but he was about to challenge that window. He was on point, he was ready to shoot, and he was ready to make that challenge onto the IQ. But as soon as he saw that diffuser drop, you just saw his course of movement change, and he got himself off tight into a corner, and you can see now he's just watching that area. But very well used Dokkaebi call to just allow the retrieval of that diffuser, because it just forces Dizlown to turn his attention to his phone, and then Sets and Ease gets in and get the final 2 kills, which will put another round on the board for Dizlown. Very, very good.
Well, that's what they needed at this point, but it's not over yet. 6-4. They've obviously managed to take trophy before as well. Supremacy are going to go back to trophy. Taken it once, lost it once on their defense. Who knows which way it could go this time, obviously. Depends on whether they decide to, I guess, play it the same way that they played it before. We're seeing a lot of similar picks from Supremacy as well. They're still kind of rolling with the Legion. Smoke is on the table too. No Maestro currently is probably the big miss here. That has been a pretty frequent staple of both teams and both holds, but KB is back on the board as they know at this point, you got to clear that Supremacy roam.
Yeah, I think the difference between this site being won and lost for Supremacy, as you said, 50-50 on it at this point defensively. I think the difference was Alive. I think in the round that they lost, the round in it doesn't always, I'm not saying that every round comes down to one man like that. There's frags across the board here for Supremacy. But in that round, he was very, very aggressive to begin with and lost his life very early in the round. He put them on the back foot immediately. The round where they won this site, he was aggressive and had a good start to the round. And I think that can sometimes just be the difference there, is that early progress in the round, the first couple of kills being vital. So we'll see how that pans out as we head in towards the game.
Well, opening up a lot of those sight lines that they have been using pretty brutally on both their attack and their defense, getting that vertical control. There goes a nice camera inside the open pit there, and Alive just hates records as he keeps himself head in the game. But here comes that pressure from Dizlown. They're wasting no time trying to get boots towards the ground and get themselves inside this point and inside this map now. A lot of pressure is what they need, and a lot of ability to close down those roams, as I said, and you've said many times, it's been instrumental in Supremacy actually holding onto these rounds and getting those picks. And you can see, in fair to him, Alive has actually backed off from the spawn peaks and the pretty over-the-top aggression, whether it worked or didn't work. And now at this point, it is more just a matter of balancing, finding those firefights, being in situations where they might be a bit of trouble, and then striking whilst you can. That is the second Twitch drone gone. But they did manage to get a little bit of electronics. However, they've also got to find a way through that big bedroom hold, and otherwise that is just going to have to be from underneath to try and get those bandits off. Alive, however, in the meantime, suffering at the hands of KB. And that is, we said it before, what they are doing so brilliantly. They're responding to Alive. They're responding to those roams and everything that is such a trouble for them.
And I like to see it. They're certainly showing that they're not scared of him. He's had a great game so far, and when he's got into gunfights, he's generally won them. But Dizlown saying, we're going to track you down every single round. We're going to find where you're playing. We know that you're going to be on the Legion, and we're going to close you down and attack you. And that is exactly what they're doing, and they're not giving Alive even the room to breathe. So we'll see the Hibana pellets now activated on that wall from Easy. So this was when they had a lot of success attacking this site, was when they managed to get that wall breached and they could work themselves past the side. We're going to see K6 just dropping back into Astronomy, holding a tight angle there. Tactics getting a kill onto Aizen. So Supremacy needed that at this stage. We're going to see K6 just droned out there behind the desk. He won't manage to get the drone himself. He's going to have to be careful because he is going to be pushed from the side and comes to his rescue up the stairs. What a fantastic view we had of that. Sets with a kill onto Dizlown, leaving his 3 versus 3 shots coming from Easy, and he will take the head off K6. So that is the bandit off the board, and we are now down to 2 operators remaining. Smoke is one of them. If you ever want an operator remaining as your last 1 or 2 on site, it's going to be him. He does see Sets, but he won't get the shot onto him. He didn't release any bullets before Sets could get another one back onto Poseidon, and that is another round going in the favour of Dizlown, and it is another map coming down to the final round for us, Flute.
Well, if there's anything that we have learned over this past 2 days, it's that, hey, maybe we shouldn't offer unlimited OT because these guys really want to get there. 6-5, they've clawed their way back from what at the beginning of the game was a 4-0, then a 4-3, then a 6-3. And might be balanced once again. This is complete response from Dizlown and everything you want to see from one of these up-and-coming teams, because you can find ways to respond to teams when they get the upper hand. That is exactly what keeps you alive in this game. Your ability to adapt, your ability to find the flaws, find the weaknesses, exploit them, or in some cases, as we're seeing, find the strengths and deal with those first. Take care of Alive, take care of this roam game, and set yourself up in a position where, at least when it comes down to the wire, you know that you've taken care of the strongest bit. And that is exactly what they're doing, and I am so happy to see it from Dizlown.
Moving into round number 12 then, this will be our final regular time round, so we will either have a winner or overtime here, and that is not an option open to Dizlown for them. The only thing they could be looking forward to is overtime, because they can't win at this point. Only Supremacy can do that, so we're going to see the Valkyrie cameras of Poseidon coming out. Poseidon, I thought, had a good round last time, protected K6 very well in the Astronomy room with that little foray up the stairs there and getting the shots through into bathroom. Really good plays, but ultimately I think Sets just really applied some pressure once those holes got opened up for Master, and did the job to sort of crack the nut, as it were. So we're going to see these shoes just opening up the floor there beneath the bathroom window, so we can try and just take a vertical approach to keeping them out of that area. And that is a good first pick from Alive, and this is something that we have commented on. When Alive has a good start, generally Supremacy follow and win the round, and that is a good start indeed.
Well, you can see that Alive is back on his the word that goes on the end of that sentence now, as he's yet again picking people off before they can even begin to get close to this point. And more eyes and more pressure is coming from Aizen, is looking to try and close this down. Without the IQ, it becomes a little bit of a dicier push, at least. You know, they've been using Valkyrie, and as you said, Poseidon's been using that Valkyrie very well. Sets does find Alive, so they have managed to do their roam clear that they've been doing pretty precisely and pretty well over these past few rounds, but now they've got to start clearing across Living, clear underneath underneath, and then you can begin hammering upstairs. Concerned about the man on the side, but does find K6, who's buried inside Mudroom as well. Now it's just down to pushing against that point, against the Alibi, Valkyrie, and that Mute, who are going to try to hold on for all that they can. And again, kudos where they are deserved. Dizlown's roam clear has been exceptional so far. They're droning for each other, they're moving as a team, and they're really picking apart the weak points of Supremacy's defense one thread at a time.
Indeed they are, and K6 and Alive almost every round seem to be the first 2 kills for Supremacy, and that tells me that Dizlown are focusing in on those 2 guys. They are picking them up, finding where they are. They know that the Jaeger and Legion, and that is exactly then what they're going after, because they don't want to have to deal with late flanks. And as you can see from those silhouettes, they're not going to have to deal with that now. The 3 that are remaining are pretty much on site, and that is going to make things a lot easier for Dizlown as they start opening this wall up. They've got 50 seconds left to go. The utility starts to be expended, it starts to fly in, they're going to start peeking those corners now. He nearly shoots an Alibi decoy, does shoot it, and will be pinged, so that just forces sets back now. He can't approach that door until those pings stop. It looks like the mute jammers of Tactis are doing the job there and just preventing those Hibana ex-Kairos pellets from being detonated. Poseidon levels things up with a kill onto Dracos, so that's now 3 versus 3. The Hibana pellets finally detonated, sets with a kill onto Tactis, so that leaves us 3 versus 2, and it is starting to get a little bit tense for Supremacy here. However, Diju's levels things up, but not before being traded out by Ears, and that leaves us now 1 versus 2 with the diffuser in hand and going down. It won't need to go down as is, and gets the kill onto Poseidon and brings it to overtime for Dizlown. Could we really expect anything less? What a performance from Dizlown to get back from that early 4-0 deficit.
Well, if you had have asked me before this game, based on the stats from yesterday, where we had 15 rounds on Villa, and there was 1 attack win across the entire thing. Now we have had, I think it's 8 attack wins across this. There's been primarily attack wins that have taken these rounds, and I just don't know what to say about the coin flip at this point, because both these teams, their attack has been phenomenal against the other team. They've been answering the other's defense and taking their strategies and pulling them apart, and it's just exceptional about what we are seeing from these guys so far. And I can say it's a coin flip, has gone one way or the other, but we're keeping it with Supremacy on defense and Dizlown on attack, and I think Dizlown at this point are going to be quite happy about that.
Yeah, quite unusual on Villa to see it play out as such, 4-2 on attack in either direction. We've had Dizlown now take 3 rounds on the bounce, so I'm sure that they are happy to come into this overtime on the attack first of all. So we will be playing unlimited overtime. We should be looking for 2 clear rounds to win this. So 1 is not going to cut it. You're going to have to win 1 attack and 1 defense in order to finish the match off for yourself and progress into that second map with the advantage. You see Tactis now just getting those Maestro cams out and opening up the lines of sight in the floor there as well. Every trick in the book is going to be applied here, I'm sure, by both teams to try and close this out, because the last thing they want is to go a long distance in this first map when they've still got the rest of the night to play.
Well, I guess we're about to find out also whether our observer has set up the lobby correctly, because this could be hilarious for us to rinse him about later. Love you, Affy. But here we go into this first of a potential unlimited overtime. The calls are instantly coming out. They're instantly trying to shut down anything that can be roaming and anyone that can be roaming. You can see Alive and K6 on the far end of the map. Alive already suffering a little split bit of damage, but I honestly think at this point, whoever gets the first defensive win is the one that is going to be ahead at this point. It's so crazy to call that maybe the attackers are the ones that have been so far the positive force in terms of the rounds and the round counts and the round wins. Easy is going to start swinging in from Ruin side, wants to put some immediate and direct pressure on. Doesn't see anything too intent as he is cutting across those Valkyrie cameras and taking her out of the equation. There is someone pushing up Classical Corridor, but no response. The Sets takes care of Tactics. That is the Maestro off the table, which is a big loss to suffer. Now they're still setting themselves up via library and underneath, trying to find the calls, trying to find the people and find the operators. There's still this roam game live, and Well, it's proven itself there as K6 finds Rykos and shuts him down and rotates up via Astro, leaving alive down by himself.
No surprise to see the attackers taking the initiative here. We've had sort of 66% of the rounds so far have been won on the attack. So we would, you know, reasonably expect to see that trend follow. But if the defense can pull off a win here, that would be a big move for Supremacy because they were extremely dominant at the beginning of their attacks. K6 just continuing to challenge 90 through the smoke there, but there won't be any real push coming through there. It's just to sort of bait him out, so to take him out of the game for a short while. So we've got Poseidon holding deep in behind that bar. We can see 3 of the remaining 4 attackers there alive. We'll get the kill onto Iz, and I think the Dokado is actually going to hunt alive as a potential roamer there, but will not have any joy. Easy will, however, get the kill onto Dizlown, so that leaves us now 3 versus 3. I am on the edge of my seat here. I have no idea which way this is going to go. Attackers now making good progress into sight. Will be hit with a goo mine though, and that allows Easy to get the kill onto Poseidon. And now Hibana is in place and can start thinking about a plant. Alive is still going though, gets a kill onto Sets and brings things 2 versus 2. K6 moving back in. We've got those 2 roamers get kills synchronized at the same time. They work so well together. We've seen it all night, and what a great finish to that round from them two, just moving back in. And the big difference for me there is how well up to that round have Dizlown dealt with those 2 as a roaming pair. And this time they've been allowed to come back on the flank and really punish Dizlown, and that is a shame.
That is exactly right. You could see the Takebi calls came up very quickly. They didn't put the pressure against those 2 that they needed to, and that they had been doing so brilliantly the rounds before that we both complimented them on so many times. Instead, they kind of just pushed straight towards the point. They went against the walls. They thought, well, maybe if we do this, it will work. But they did that, and it didn't work. And they know that. And then what they were doing was working brilliantly. They were rolling on 3 rounds on a victory. They'd just taken that exact same point earlier on. And, you know, it just struggled that time. They couldn't quite find the ground because they never had the ground themselves. But will their defense be a little more creative than their attack? They did win. This is one of the 2 defenses that they actually won. It was the last defense that they won in the midst of their run of 3 rounds in the middle. But it was also one that Supremacy took in the midst of when they were playing at their strongest, when they were on the 2nd round of the game, and they breezed through it with a precision and the tactical balance that you expect to see from a team like Supremacy. However, they've obviously just come off a pretty shaky combination of defense losses, so hopefully they haven't lost that spark they had in those opening 4 rounds.
That's it. It could well have an impact on the attack. As you said there, Dizlown are 50-50 defending this objective. Sorry, Supremacy were 50-50 defending this objective. 1-1, lost 1. And when... Sorry, I'm getting... Dizlown, 50-50 defending.
It's alright, we've got
it's when you get into overtime and it switches one round about, it just gets very difficult to keep on top. But sorry, Supremacy were attacking 50-50. The first attack that they were successful, they had a really good roam clear downstairs and they got 2 kills down there. Dizlown, after that, realised that there weren't too much value in having men downstairs, so they pretty much went downstairs and played everybody up on top floor. I think maybe bar 1, which is what they're doing now. And they had a lot more success with it because it didn't allow Supremacy that option to get in and get a clear man advantage by taking out those 2 roamers, which Supremacy are always going to do very well. If you've got roamers down there and Alive can get in and challenge them, then that's exactly what he's going to do, again in combination with K6. And they did it so well that it made things very difficult for Dizlown. Very quickly found themselves 3 versus 5. So they adapted well. They came back. They didn't play that way in the future. They got operators upstairs in and around side, and they held on till much later in the round and kept the man count in the favour. Over a minute gone, still no losses, and it certainly looks like they're playing this in the same way.
Well, that grenade did a chunk of damage on Maestro, and he is going to quickly pull back into Gunvolt and make sure they don't finish him, because that would be a horrendous operator to lose, with to be the first off the table in the entry pick as well, without just anything more than a lucky grenade bounce. But they're looking to find a way through, and yet again Maestro seems to suffer at the hands of Tactus there as the F2 begins to tear into his side, and yet he still escapes, wounded, bleeding, and crawling. But Sets is going to actually open the frags on the diffuser carrier underneath. Poseidon drops it deep in library, and that is a horrible position. K6 manages to at least balance that out and find sets, and Alive was close enough to pick that diffuser back up, but there is now a minute left, and we have to try and find a way in, is what they must be thinking, because so far they have struggled to actually get the ground and control that they want. They're concerned about, obviously, impact tricking and someone stopping any of this. Well, I say that. They don't even have hard destruction. What am I saying? They don't care about impact tricking. They care about getting those frags.
Indeed they do. We're going to have Alive and K6 now moving in together. They've got that diffuser in hand, just going to be dropped in a tactical location there. Rykos with a kill on to Dizlown, and that is going to be traded out by Tactis onto Azen. So we are now 3 versus 3. Here comes Rykos from C4. Won't have any joy, will take shots for his pleasure. He's going to try and get round the side of this desk potentially and put shots in, but they definitely know he's there. We can see Alive is going to run in for the challenge and will get the kill. How about that for a flick? Wasn't looking in the right direction. Easy with a kill of his own onto Tactis. K6 onto Easy, and that now leaves us 2 versus 1 with the diffuser in hand. Alive moves in with the final kill. Who else getting the one for his team that takes the first map? And that will be Supremacy, victorious on Villa.
Well, I guess we won't get a true taste of unlimited overtime just yet, but with the way that map played out, I feel like it's only a matter of time, because these are two teams that are more than happy, more than comfortable, and more than talented enough to keep this battle going. But Alive, 21-8, what a map he had.
Yeah, he really did, and we know that Villa is a good map for him. We expected that from him. He was hit or miss in some rounds, and, you know, there was definitely a concerted effort there from Dizlown to shut him down, to shut K6 down, and they did an excellent job of it. That is absolutely no question there. They can really be proud of themselves on that map. I think they're going to come away from that map and think, right, let's get on to Bank and let's see what we can do on there. The problem is, with the way Alive and K6 are playing as a team like that, if they don't continue to shut them down on Bank, it's exactly the same sort of map where the rotations and the roaming is really going to hurt Dizlown.
Well, that is exactly what you're thinking. Obviously, the map choice was Dizlown, so I'm curious to see what they kind of bring as their defense, because what we saw of their defense on Villa, which is, as we said so many times, though we were proved wrong by the round counters, is a defender-sided map traditionally. And I'm curious to see if they have something more set up, some more ideas, something that can kind of bring some creativity, because one of the compliments that we could throw at them from their attack rounds was they were creative on their attacks and they were responsive on their attacks. They were willing to kind of listen to, okay, this is where we're struggling, this is where they're strong, let's find a way to repel it, let's find a way to counter that. And we didn't really see them do that too much on their defense. So hopefully for us and for them, Bank is a bit more home territory.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think they're probably going to have a little bit more job. I think, to be honest, we're going to have another close map. I can't see, again, anybody getting run over on this. I think we're going to have a close one. In terms of bans, what do you think we're likely to see based on that? Do you think maybe... I wouldn't be surprised necessarily, to see a targeted Ash ban.
I was exactly thinking that. I mean, how kind of brutally that he was moving around that map and giving him more to play with. Alive is the talisman player. There's only so many times that we can say that and comment about just how much his momentum means to not only himself, but the rest of the game and the rest of the team. Undercutting him, undercutting the decisions he can make and limiting that person, never a bad move. But I guess we're going to find out what happens sooner rather than later, because we're not taking any breaks in this train. We're going straight into this Bank.
One thing that I would say here, and it's worth pointing out, my opinion, is the longer that this match goes on, that benefits Supremacy, if anybody. I think, again, we've spoken about their experience. They've been through the longer matches, been together as a team on. I just think that fatigue, when it starts to play a part, I think will favour Supremacy a little. Dizlown want to get anything out of this, they really need to just get themselves on top of things here and really push to get this map over quite quickly. They want to get the win, they want to get themselves onto the third map. The last thing they want is another 2 14-round maps.
Well, I feel like, Nomad is going to be taken off by Supremacy. They've opted to remove Nomad rather than the usual aforementioned Monty. And to be honest, I think a lot of that is because they're starting on attack and they're pushing down on that basement. They know they're going to be going there, and it's just nice to have. And they're a team that they say they don't like playing against shields. They remove Clash every time as well, but still one in your arsenal. It's still one you know how to use in your arsenal, and it's one you know that they're going to use and how they're going to use it. It's so particular, the role. Valk is the fourth removal, so Ashe is still on the board. Instead, they've opted to ban out Blackbeard Dizlown, and I'm trying to think why.
I was just going to comment exactly the same there, Fluke. I'm really not sure on that Blackbeard play because I'm trying to think of uses for him. He can have uses on a server push once you get that wall open. Base shield does help in challenging the mirror potentially on the basement objective, but again, it's not really far from essential. You've got the windows onto CEO, potentially, the 2 single windows there, and you've got the skylight, all of which can be played very capably by other operators. It's really not as essential as it can be on some other sites and maps. So I'm a little bit surprised by that. Personally, I'd have, straight away Alive coming in on the pick there for Ashe. Absolutely no surprise. I'd have really wanted to disrupt Alive in K6. Maybe even take Jackal out of the mix and just really disrupt that extended roam clear game and allow yourself to get out of the roam and have some joy.
Now, one thing I will comment on here is expectation of point. And as I said before, that basement point is the usual first point, and I think Supremacy had that idea as well because they've bought double hard destruction. And yes, pushing against the basement, it is very useful to have that. Cracking open the kind of archives wall, cracking open those drop downs as well is very necessary. However, it's normally the only point I would say you really need that double hard destruction. So I think it's actually a good bait and switch here from Dizlown to go to an unfamiliar first place, kind of force them to bring this lineup that would historically be pushing the basement and to take them off kilter from the very first round, keep them guessing. And if anything, that means that this is an important round to win, because if they lose a round where they've got the ability and the bonus of surprise, it doesn't bode well for the rest of the rounds to follow.
No, like you say, I always like to see maybe just a surprise pick coming out in that first round and just try and debate those operator picks so you've not got an optimum lineup. I mean, they're still going to have the uses there potentially if they look to push in from main lobby as they are doing now. Tactis already making very good progress in there. He's going to open up that castle. You could follow that in with the thermite potentially and open up the double wall next to it as well just to allow better access. We've also got the rear wall potentially from the corridor side, but a lot of the defense here is focusing around open area and around the kitchen cafeteria area. Now they've got both of the mirrors played in here. We can see Maestro is in there playing them. It stops them using the hatch, stops them getting into sight from that side. They have to defend that area very heavily. If they don't and Supremacy can get control of anything around open area or cafeteria, believe me, it's going to get very sweaty very quick for Dizlown.
Alive is popping bullets, doesn't know that there's 2 buried in here, and the second tears him in half. Just stood right next to him. Rykos buried in the corner. A very clean piece of movement there, and again, this is that surprise that I mentioned previously. So good and so effective, and you can see Supremacy have kind of hit a little bit of a brick wall here as they're not quite sure just where to expect to strike from next because, well, they weren't even sure what the point was going to be, but Sets is currently moving around on a very low matter of health, but it doesn't matter so much as he drops K6 and rotates back underneath, utilizing all of that space and extra hatch that they have opened for themselves. And Supremacy are a little bit lost for words so far on this push as Dejuz finally gets into Printer and open, wants to clear across, worried about all the open spaces that are here as Eisen finds yet another one, sees the leg of the Maestro, but that's about it. Gonna creep round, sees a bit more of the foot, puts a lot of bullets through him, but unfortunately it's just another Dizlown player on another little sliver of health.
It is indeed, and this is looking better and better for them as the round progresses. We are down now to 23 seconds as Poseidon takes the head off easy, but that only brings us to 2 versus 4. There's a couple of low hit point operators on the Dizlown side, but with just 10 seconds to go now. They really do have a job ahead of them. They've got to get into sight, think about the diffuser. Poseidon is in there. He's just going to bait out that attack. He doesn't have a choice but to try and get the diffuser down, and Rykos will take his head off as he does, and the defenders will ultimately win based on the clock for that one.
Wow, that was good movement and good take there, but you know, I think that was the one and done. That was your surprise. That was, as I said, that's where you're going to get that round, and you've got to win those. But from then on, it's hard to surprise them again. We're going to go to Exec and CEO instead. The same loadout from Supremacy. So, you know, it's still the double hard destruction. They're still kind of rolling against that. I do actually quite like to see Maverick against this push point, but, you know, it's a harder point to predict at this point because they've already been rolling towards different locations, and I keep saying the word point, and I'm going to try to slow that down a bit. But Maestro and Echo both being brought to the top floor castle, which is pretty much a staple of this hold as well. Kind of get the reinforcements around the windows of Banana, keep yourself with a bit more kind of coverage, and open those rotations as we see through Janitors. And one thing I will say about the hold from Dizlown in the previous round was they had a lot kind of as hard and soft. They had a lot of possibility for rotations and peeks around.
They did, and I think that's something that we've seen from Dizlown in the last few rounds of Villa as well. It's, you know, something that they're aiming to do is give themselves some freedom of movement around the map, and that's again something that they're adapting to. They've struggled to clear the roam game out. They've learned how difficult that can be, so they're looking to play that way themselves and just be a little bit less predictable. But moving into round number 2, then we are on CEO. They're going to be heading to the top floor. As we can see, we've got those double hard breach again, so I think at this point Supremacy are just playing in weight of this bottom floor site, but it's still not a bad lineup. They've got the Jackal there of K6 to deal with any roamers potentially, if he can work in better conjunction with Alive this time to hunt any of them down rather than Alive getting himself cornered and challenged by 2. That will serve Supremacy a lot better, and I'm sure they're going to be keen to come out and take this round and just get themselves back on level pegging so that they can push on from there. We can see Alive now making some very quick early progress in through tellers. We can see Poseidon in now with the drone, just looking to get any information about that site setup that he can. Good early progress being made here. No actual challenges onto anybody yet, but they've got a very good idea of what's going in and around site, I think, and they are just looking to get themselves positioned and start holding down those angles before they get the hard walls open.
Well, we can see they are setting themselves up now. Havana suffers a little bit, but they are managing to crack those very important walls open. You can see Maestro tears Tactus apart, and Dejus could only watch on the camera as their teammate and compatriot got brutally dismembered by that beastly gun, and is still dug in there easy with no real pressure. I do like the single setup. I think they have a mirror window on their shoulder as well, or am I just imagining things there? Maybe things I like to see as a mirror main. But Alive is still creeping up those southern main stairs, trying to find a way to dig easy out. And if there's an ability, it could be an Ash Charge fight over the shoulder. Yet again, the hard destruction suffers more as EIZ finds the Jus, and Thermite is the one that suffers even more. They are slowly trying to creep round now and try and find a way to shut down Maestro, who just runs across, and I don't even think Alive expected that, as they could only manage to get a couple of bullets through. Thermite suffers yet again and drops down, and Dizlown are doing everything right now as they find another way. Well, I say as Azen goes for something very bold there, and it doesn't quite work, but K6 can't confirm the kill either. There's a lot of downs and a lot of wounds right now, but nothing that is actually managing to shut it down. K6 does finally close down on Castle, but there's only about 25 seconds left. Maestro's still causing issues, and it's a 3-3, but one of the men is on the floor right now, and they've got to find a way to revive him.
Yep, 3 versus effectively 2 as they move out and start to put the moves on Alive as well. So that now leaves K6 1 versus 3, 10 seconds to go. He's got an awful big ask as Rykos uses the C4 to finish things off. Sets moves out and gets the headshot onto K6, and that will allow Rykos' kill to be confirmed as well. So another good round from Dizlown there, and they really are applying good pressure to Supremacy here. They are making making a much better job of the start to Bank than they did the start to Villa. However, will we see it turned around like we did on Villa?
Well, that's exactly it. Obviously, I think what we've seen and what was proven by both these teams is it is far from over until it is actually over. And they are very much, both of them, capable of clawing and bringing themselves back into these matches and back into these games when it seems like everything is swinging against them. Yet again, we are not going down to basement. In fact, we are going to staff and open area, which is a very, very particular point to see in a normal game. But to be the 3rd point choice over that basement, I'm a bit curious about that.
Again, you know, it's something that we've seen earlier when we watched Border with Extreme, and just almost like a complete refusal to go to the most powerful side. But then again, you know, they're up 2-0. Why not? Let's be honest. Supremacy didn't really get anywhere near Tellers, and this is going to be a very similar hold to Tellers. The problem that you've got here is that the single window comes into play directly into open, and that makes things a bit more difficult. If I were Supremacy here, I'm looking to get good top floor control, start getting control around stock and corridor, open the hatches up and work from there.
Well, I guess we'll have to see if they can find a way to get a little bit more creative with their attacks, because so far they are hitting these brick walls over and over again. And unfortunately, they are not finding a way to shake a Dizlown that is just looking so sturdy and rock solid. And you kind of compare the defenses that we saw from the previous round and the previous map even to this, and it's just a completely different pair of teams. It's unbelievable that these were the teams that were doing such illuminated attacks across Villa, and here on Bank they're struggling to begin to find their feet inside. Crawling across Alive is trying to get a lucky peek across towards open. Might not know that Rykos isn't that far away. The drones are coming through. They have, again, a lot of soft rotation in and out of the point. Dizlown are keeping their defense very alive and very kind of open and aggressive, and Supremacy are struggling to find a way to cut through it right now.
Certainly are, and we're going to see again a little bit of a stall, but K6 will fire things up with a kill onto Easy. What Supremacy need to do now is to shoot on from there. They need to be doing what they were doing so well on Villa, and that was one kill comes in and then a second, a third follow very quickly after, rather than letting that momentum drop off in the round. Good progress so far. They've got control of top floor, which is what I expected, and they are now using those hatches very well. Tactis getting the headshot down onto Rykos, so that will mean that we've got Mute and Bandit off the board now. Their gadgets will already largely be used, but that said, it's still 2 guns off the board, 2 guns less to challenge. What Supremacy need to do now is think about converting this control, and that is not going to help as Sets absolutely deletes K6 through that hatch there on the reverse angle. So great plays from Sets to keep his team alive, but Dijus will get the view down onto him. It won't take long at all, and Alive will follow that with one of his own, so that now leaves us 3 versus 1 as is, and gets a kill onto Tactis. It's surely a matter of time as shots rain in on the Legion. He is absolutely one shot now as this one comes across. Surely one of these bullets must hit him. It certainly does, and Alive finishes the round off. That's the first for Supremacy, and will that be the start of the momentum?
Well, I do like that they almost got the diffuser down as well. It shows a Supremacy that we are so much more familiar with, so much more comfortable seeing. And yeah, okay, it was on open office. It was on a point that is famously not the best point, but it's something. It's something Supremacy can kind of grab on and go, this is what we can do, this is what we can kind of roll with, and this is momentum we can carry down to lockers. And that is always the risk of bringing those surprise points and bringing those surprise places, because at that point, you know, you might give them too much to work with. I will say we are going down to lockers, and for I think the first time, a single hard destructor from the attackers Supremacy that have otherwise rolled with both a Hibana and a Thermite almost continuously every time. They could 6th pick off now, but they are not going to. That is going to make this a hard take.
Have they just been completely debated in that Dizlown have just got them to a point whereby they believe that they're not going to be going downstairs, so they're not going to end up bringing the double hard breach? And I tell you what, if that is what Dizlown have been planning, then it is absolutely executed to a T here. Dijus now is extremely valuable. It all depends how quickly they realise and what choice they make here. if the hatches are reinforced, do they go for the hatches or do they go for the wall to allow the plant? Granted, there is a single door, only sort of 10, 12 feet away, that you can move in for the same plant. The problem is that you can't defend that plant the same, and it leaves you much more open to attack from the mirror window area. I know mirror's not available, but from that same area still, from the C4 toss from Pulse, from the smoke grenades from Smoke, it still leaves you much more vulnerable. So the question is now, where does Dizlown use this gadget? Where do they choose to have him go in and apply that hard breach? Because they must be absolutely kicking themselves that they've only brought one at this point, unless they've got some sort of game plan. But given that they've got the Dockerby instead, I really don't think that's going to be too much of the case. We're going to see the choice has been made there. So Alive getting a kill onto Aizen to open things up. He's already way down into sight and getting the first kills. He will be taken out by Rykos though, so that's a headshot onto Alive. That now leaves us 4 versus 4. But Aizen was on the smoke, so that's a very good operator for Alive to have taken off the board. Bijou's has got one hatch open. Is he going to choose to open more hatches, or is he going to head downstairs and use the last 2 of his charges to get that wall open and allow access to the plant spot? If not, where is the plant spot going to be? Those are questions now that Supremacy need to be asking themselves and that they need to be answering, more importantly.
Well, here comes that pressure on this wall that, as we said before, is a hard thing to do with just a Hibana, and especially, I bet they'll be kicking themselves when they realize Thermite is off the table. There's a lot of drones coming out, but there's so much utility and so much possible pressure. Obviously, Smoke is gone, and that's a very, very big and important take, but you still got Echo, who you know is going to be keeping a very firm eye across anyone that tries to plant it. They have the ACOG battling down in Garage, and they are generally pulling every single person back away from that point and waiting for this push. And yeah, the spots are coming. There's a little bit of back and forth, a little bit of ideas, and a little bit of who knows what's going to happen here from both teams, as they're just trying to find a way to crack in. But just opens it up and takes care of sets, and you can see Easy is struggling and worried about this pressure.
Worried indeed, and that leaves us now 3 versus 2. Pulse having major pressure applied with the flashbangs coming in, but nobody will be able to make a successful challenge yet. But as I say, that Dizlown moves in. Poseidon gets one of his own, so that's going to be 2 quick kills. One traded out by Rykos onto Dizlown. That's going to allow Tactis into that planting position now. Doc is the last alive. He does have stim pistols left. He could potentially have juiced himself up before coming in to make this challenge. The likelihood was that the diffuser was going to go down anyway. He doesn't want to die with those in his pocket, but it is going to take some damage there, down to about 52 health, and that is going to leave him in a very tricky position now. He knows that he's got attackers on both sides of him. He will start to use those stim pistols, just getting one in to bring him back up to round about his normal health on 90. And now out come the pings. He will put shots in but won't get them to land. It was really a whole lot of effort expended for not a lot of result, as K6 moves in and gets the final kill onto Rykos. That's going to be Supremacy leveling things up 2-2 now.
Wow, it's good to see Supremacy clawing their way back into this. They seem to have shaken off those first round jitters, and I think taking that basement point with a set of operators that at the very beginning they shouldn't have been bringing, and still winning that round says a lot about the caliber of the players in that lineup, because it worked. Obviously, Rykos is doing big numbers, fragging out, and we're seeing Alive struggling a little bit to get off the starting gate so far, but as soon as they start warming up a bit more and more and more, I think we're going to see more and more and more of this. I do like Maestro down here this time. Obviously, wasn't there previously. I think that will be a good addition to this lineup as they start to put aggression against it.
Certainly will. So looking towards round number 5, then we are 4 rounds in, and very, very even at the minute, not just in terms of the score, but in terms of performance as well. Dizlown have had a couple of very solid defences, particularly liked the Teller's Archives defence, which is one that we don't see varied very often at all, to be honest. And to see it taken from the cafeteria and open area for the majority of that defence, I was quite impressed with that. I'm looking forward to having a look back at that and just breaking down exactly how that was set up and how it worked, because that one is definitely interesting.
That is exactly it. Obviously, I think it's a good kind of balance of the operators that they brought to kind of change it up. But, you know, here's the kind of here's the holes I like to see. And I know I can say I like to see it, and we always talk about things that are good on points and things that are bad on points, and with, you know, these are the pro players, these are the ones that make it happen, but there's reasons that these are things that we say are good and bad to see on points, and reasons that there are good operators to see and bad operators to see on points. And I think that Dizlown, as we said before, they're good at responding to what is going wrong and what they're missing, even if you can say they've made a couple of missteps over the previous couple of rounds.
Certainly have. So 5 versus 5 still as we move towards 40 seconds gone in the round. Not too much of a rush this time from Supremacy to be getting into the map alive. Only just coming in at 2 minutes 15. That's a lot slower than normal. Quickly now towards Tellers though. He's certainly not messing about getting into potentially roam clear if there is anybody up there. That much is unclear at the minute. K6 has got control of that top floor hatch, and that's going to allow him to just try and get an angle down into sight. And I tell you what, he's only millimeters away from a potential headshot there. He's getting some feet there, just showing that there is somebody potentially nearby or has been playing around that hatch, but it's not going to get him too much direct information. We can see Poseidon looking to move in from the closet area there, and Supremacy now starting to gain some good map control. It feels like they are pretty comfortable with what they've got. I don't know if they know that they've got an operator out there on blue stairs as of yet. The Echo drone is going to make a challenge, and as it does, Set steps out and gets the kill onto Alive. Absolutely takes the head off his shoulders and will get him back to sight. Makes a further challenge. Great plays from Sets there, showing really how to play that roam game. Get the kill, and he's desperate to get himself back upstairs almost, and we've got the Jackal of K6 just waiting at the top of those if he does.
Wow, this is a great response again. They are battling and back and forthing, and you talk about points that you're expected to win and points are expected to lose, and obviously the expectation is this is one that a lot of teams defensively should be able to lock down, should be able to hold on and keep complete control over. You know, here it's nice to see, obviously, that they still have their smoke on the board, especially he wasn't the first pick. Here comes some of the counter smoke. Set suffers, and that is exactly why you want him. Look at the response there to the smoke there. Puts his own in. The Maestro Cam has the eye on. Still has 2 in pocket, I believe. Still has so much, and it's going to force Supremacy to have to try and find another way downstairs, another way into the point. The smokes keep going off. This is a smoke push being rebuffed by a smoke defender. They cannot get the diffuser in. They finally managed to shut somebody down, but it might not be enough. The C4 goes off 3-3, 2-3. It's down to just Hibana and Jackal, and no! Dizlown find a way to keep that locked down.
They certainly do, and what a match we have on our hands here. Dizlown fighting for every inch of this final that they can get. It's an absolute joy to watch at the minute. I think Supremacy made some mistakes there. They got very good early map control. They pretty much took control of second and third floor very quickly and very well. The problem was they were very sloppy about the blue stairs. It's so common an area to have a defender waiting around on to challenge, and as soon as that stun came in from the Echo drone, it allowed Sets to just pop out and absolutely rip the head off Alive, and then that just put them at the man disadvantage, and it all felt a little bit rushed and a little bit tentative from there, and I just think it was a little bit sloppy, not recognising that there was a defender on the blue stairs.
Well, here we see them going back to Tellers. Their final defensive round going on the split 4-2 will do them a lot of favors, as we saw them previously carry a bit of the momentum previously on the other half. And said their attacks were actually very solid, Dizlown, and it really kind of did them a few favors. But this is again their map, their pick, one that they wanted to come to, and is much more trod ground than Villa is. But we can see them going up for the kind of open holes, open rotations between open itself. They're being a bit more active in their defense. They're happy to try and find these firefights in more particular places and kind of use the width of this map to their pure advantage. And as we saw last time when they tried to attack against it, it was with a different set of operators, sure, from Supremacy, but it wasn't great at just getting inside and getting the kills that they really needed to do.
Absolutely, like you said, For me, the challenge was onto cafeteria. They'd set themselves up facing towards open area, and if you can get in behind that, either using the skylight, using this area, get down the stairs and start challenging that double door and getting yourself into that area, you're going to take out a couple of operators and an awful lot of utility very quickly, and the rest of their defense is obviously built around that. So then how do they deal with that situation? That's the question you want to be asking. Whenever you're attacking, you look at what the defenders have set up, you try to disrupt it, and then how do they deal with that situation? How can you take advantage of that disruption? And I think that's something Supremacy failed to do. They tried to attack from this main lobby side last time, and it just basically played into the hands of all that utility that had been spent.
Well, here comes that chrome clear that was pretty badly and brutally bashed apart the last time they tried to attack this point, and so far it's done very well in just getting the ground towards the building that they need to do. And well, Tactus suffers the first fate as Rykos tears through the Twitch, but also the sliver of health he is down. At least manages to pull out the win, but so far you need a little bit more than just that. Unfortunately, here comes more bullets. The C4 gets K6, but Dizlown with a double and alive with the single. It was a clear amount of pressure and retake from Supremacy, and they are setting themselves up to bring this to a 3-3 on the split. There is still Maestro on the board and that beastly ACOG MP5 of EIZ. But when you're against alive Dizlown and Poseidon, 3 players that have been so electric so far. Ouch, Poseidon. No, that's how it seems to go.
Very remiss of Poseidon there to leave himself so out in the open without cafeteria being cleared. And as I said again, we can see open and cafeteria is where this last stand is being made from. And that is why they need to be pushing there. Almost forget about the site. You've got, I mean, at the minute 45 seconds left, but prior to this you've had even more time left on your hands, so just forget about site for the time being and get yourself challenging that area. Now we get a view onto the Maestro. Great kill from Alive. That might just spur his team on. EIZ gets the kill onto Dizlown, and that now leaves us 1 versus 1, but again he's just going to use that setup that they've got to get a location on Alive to find out exactly where he is. Alive does have the diffuser in hand, goes for a little fake. He's got a bit of time to play with, 20 seconds. He's going to take his chances now, is he, and try and get this diffuser down. I don't think EIZ is approaching just yet. We'd no doubt hear the Rook's footsteps. He has got himself up to the breach there, and he's ready to try and push into sight. Alive moves himself back into a more defendable position where he can listen for that challenge on the diffuser, but he does have holes in the wall behind him. We can see the Rook in front of us. EIZ, Ash will move out and challenge, and there's only going to be one winner in that situation, and that is Alive on the Ash. Great kill for him there, getting the diffuser down, playing the objective, taking the round for his team. That defense is very, very interesting because without cafeteria open being cleared out, they do have a large command oversight because they play Maestro and Rook in there. So they've got 2 ACOGs that can look all the way through site practically. Very, very difficult to get a plant down, and that is something that needs to be addressed if you're facing that defense.
Yeah, exactly that. Now we go to the swapping of the half 3-3, and if I'm saying anything, that is, I would say, in Supremacy's favor, really. I think it's a good kind of balance there for them to kind of find themselves in. And yes, Dizlown opened those first couple of rounds very well, and then it's kind of started to fall apart from there, unfortunately. But hey, we'll see if they can find a little bit more of that aggression that they had so brilliantly on the attack before. Now, Caveira is actually on the table, and I love Caveira on this map. If everybody harks backwards, they will remember that it was the first time we saw at an invitational, I believe, or on a major stage, a Caveira interrogation from G2 against Evil Geniuses. I believe it was... I'm trying to remember who it was who suffered the fate, but either way, it was on Bank, and I always love seeing Caveira on this map.
Yeah, it's such a strong map for the Roamers. Caveira, Vigil can both have an absolute field day if they're not dealt with. That being said, we do have sets on the Jackal now. Obviously, when Caveira's in silent step, those footprints will not be detectable by Jackal. You'll be able to see them, but won't be able to get the ping little bit of a counter there for the Jackal, but they're going to have to definitely work as a pair. I'd like to see somebody like the Zofia maybe, or the Dokkaebi just working alongside that Jackal. The Thatcher Thermite are too important here to get them into where they need to be and to open up that wall, but I'd like to see somebody pairing up with the Jackal and just getting in and closing down this Caveira. They need to first of all recognise where Dizlown is hiding, and then they need to work in as a 2 to try and challenge. Caveira is not a one-on-one gunfight that you want to take.
Well, here comes that pressure across from lobby. They're creeping and creeping and creeping towards open area, and they are getting complete vertical control here, covering any potential rotations, covering anyone that might try and put pressure on them. But so far, here it comes now. The run out outside from Caveira, went for the drop down, is having to move very quickly, and oh no! They just get out of there in time, but they are still lit up, and Alive is keeping the stairs covered just in case. But what an attempt that just did not really pay off there.
Strong attempt from Dizlown to take the initiative in this round, and fortune sometimes favours the bold, but unfortunately for them, not on this occasion. That gives good map control now to Dizlown, and they have to do something with it. That is the point here. So Sets is moving himself down those rear stairs near elevator, and he's just looking to see if he can get a view into that locker's site, but there's not going to be anybody there that he can pick up. He does have somebody on his Jackal track, and he just puts a few shots in their direction, I think, of that ping. He's just going to take out the Echo Drone, but not before he's stunned. That will give the opportunity for somebody to challenge him if they wish, but it looks like all it's going to do is just scare him away from those stairs for the time being. 1 minute left to go, and not too much progress on either side here. We've still got 5 alive for both the defenders and the attackers. I don't think that Thermite has been down and breached the wall yet, so I think we may be looking at an alternative plant here. We can see, I think, a charge has just been set up on the hatch that is next to the locker's site. Aizen moving in and getting a kill onto Tactis, so that's a good starter for them, with a second from Poseidon as well. This is a great quiet garage push. I don't think they're aware of the Zofia getting in here. He's got a couple of kills for free. Sets gets one onto Alive with the Jackal. That leaves us 2 versus 5. Easy is in there getting the plant down, but how about that double from Dizlown to stop it? He getting the kill onto Dizlown though. Will he move in and pick up the diffuser and continue where the Thermite left off at the minute? Yes, he will. It won't matter though, as Sets gets in and gets that round 7-1 for the attackers this time, Dizlown.
Well, this is everything that you kind of wanted Dizlown to do. I know I've said it a couple of times. Where they kind of lit up was their attack, the positions that they were getting into, and the furiosity. That's not a word, but I'm going to roll with it. That they
I
brought.
love that.
Put it on a t-shirt. But it was what they brought to the previous map, and it worked really, really well for them, because Supremacy were a team that when they started to get a little bit too comfortable, that's when they were easy to break apart, and that's when they were getting successful, and it is all about the response, and I cannot hammer that enough home. The responses that they are bringing to these matches is phenomenal for a team that is still young, and they were refusing to bow out of this.
Refusing indeed, and that now puts them in the lead for 3. Supremacy holding on very, very well. Dizlown not being able to open up a gap similar to that Supremacy managed on Villa. But that being said, they still managed to fight their way back from that. So like you say, they are certainly plucky, and they are certainly going nowhere. They are here to make a game of this. We're going to see Supremacy going back downstairs to CCTV lockers. What difference can they make here? What can they do differently? Is something I always ask myself if they're going back to the same site, having just lost it. I think they need to be more effective on the roam than they were. They didn't really have much impact at all. I think the Caveira jump out from Dizlown was probably a little bit ill-advised, because it just forced him back onto site and basically gave up complete map control then to the attackers, and that just allowed them too much time to think about what they were doing and to plan the execution of that attack.
Well, that's exactly it. Now, I do like the hold that they're doing across these server stairs as well. You see it done so common, is digging those ADSs in, putting those kind of shields and holding on for your entire life. And that is everything that we are kind of seeing from them so far. Now, obviously, I say that what was so brilliant about the round before was the push through garage, the take. We saw Eisen get the double and just open up the push and open up that defense and throw away what the defenders are doing and bring your own game to them, and it is exceptional, and I'm just excited to see them keep running this. Now, Ease has already kind of suffered a fair bit of damage there and suffered a little chunk of health, but so has Alive, and I can only assume, yet again, the phrase Alive is back on his bull is being thrown around so far.
Indeed, so we are in round number 8, 1 minute already gone, 5 versus 5, and things just slowing down a little bit here. I think Dizlown obviously aware that they're making good progress. They don't want to get themselves too carried away and cause themselves issues, but it looks like they've got some good map control once again. This was something they managed last time. Will they make a better job of blue stairs? It looks like they certainly will. They are very aware that K6 is on there as the utility comes raining in. We see that as a fear. Stun grenade followed by the impact grenade to get rid of the shield, so that is going to clear blue stairs out, and again that is something that has been much more adequately achieved than Supremacy did on the flip reverse. If you remember, we had sets on there who had an absolute field day, just popping off and taking the head off Ash's shoulders from that location when he wasn't drawn out. So that leaves us with just about a minute on the clock, still 5 versus 5, slow progress onto site, but they are certainly building in the same direction. Now this could be dangerous because it looks like Supremacy are prepared for this. Set's being chased hard away from site now. Will manage to take out the Yokai drone, but not before further time is wasted.
Oh, Poseidon opens up the frags against Eisen, who he said was such a monster and in the whole of the defense last time, and there is a very strong hold from Alive, dug in the back of Service and takes care of Thatcher. Almost gets the second, but KB manages to pull them apart as well now, and they have server control. There's only 30 seconds left. A smoke goes down, but they are looking for a way to crack that open. Here it goes, and now that is why you bring Thermite to this point. That is a big old hole and a big old place to plant. The smokes come out. They bait another smoke. There is only 15 seconds left. If my count is right, they have one Echo drone and one more smoke. There goes the other smoke. They're trying to plant inside, but they are dropped. They are taking. They are picked apart. Sex gets a double, but Poseidon shuts it down. Too little, too late.
Very well defended from Supremacy that time. They adjusted well compared to what had happened to them the round before, and they just mixed things up. They still gave up a lot of map control, but they held blue stairs, and I think that just again wasted another 20 to 30 seconds until Sophia got in position to deal with it, and even then they certainly didn't give things up for free. Very well done. Kept control of the garage side much better. That was something that hurt them previously. We did have Jackal once again trying to push down those main elevator stairs, but he wasn't allowed this time. He was fought off much harder, much more directly, much more aggressively. So yeah, definitely good plays from Supremacy there, just recognizing what had gone wrong on the round before and coming back very, very differently.
Well, we can see we're going up to Tellers. Echo is bought instead of the Pulse, and yet again, I know I commented on this at the beginning before about another team, but Supremacy are a team where they're more than happy to kind of rotate operators and kind of share the load and spread it between the rest of the players, and Alive again is happy to almost pick up every operator. They kind of go, well, you've done that and it hasn't worked, so I'm going to bring this. I'm going to bring this operator now, and I'm going to show what I can do with it and show what can be done with it. And you know, it's great to see that the team is malleable enough, and I know I've given enough compliments to the malleability of Dizlown's attack, but you've got to give credit to Supremacy as well for responding to this stuff. And as I said, I think this is a great sign and a great showing of the French scene that is so strong in Rainbow, is they know each other. They know how to bat against each other and bounce off of each other. K6 is potentially going for something a bit villainous here, and they're waiting for someone to rappel up.
Certainly is, and he's got the ACOG to take advantage if they do, but it looks like the majority, if not all, have spawned. Yep, we've got 5 quite safely over on the parking garage side, so that's not going to be too much of a danger there from the dock, but I'm sure he's going to make a nuisance of himself. Seems to be less of a French thing to have the roaming dock. It seems to be maybe a bit more of a UK, maybe a bit of a German game, that we see that roaming dock being brought by those teams from those regions. But it is an operator I like to see. He's a great self-sufficient roamer. He can get in there, he can make challenges. He's got an ACOG, he can do some real damage, and he can heal himself to keep himself out on the roam for longer. It's really is an all-in-one package, apart from the fact that he's not really fast enough. But other than that, he does a great job on the roam. So yeah, glad to see K6 up on the top floor. Let's see how that pans out. And they are definitely going to have to clear that top floor out if they want to attack side.
Well, here comes the clear up towards Banana. EIZ bringing that Ash that we did talk about how well it can be, you know, banned out and taken off. But the battle instantly starts with K6 finding the opening frag against Sets. And you can see that's taken the wind out of EIZ's sails a little bit. Going to go for the rotation and try and take it on the corridor underneath as they get the feed from the drone that they have rotated off. Rykos finds Alive. Easy finds another one to flip the balance back towards Dizlown's favor. And I think, again, taking care of Alive is a big, big job, especially as it's Alive and especially as it is Echo as well.
Echo off the board is always dangerous in the early round. We've still got over a minute. It's not just for the information. That is still of some use. Great attempt by Poseidon to move round, but how about that from Easy? Taking shots, turning round, getting the kill onto Poseidon, and then going for the defuse. But Dizlown is having absolutely none of it as he gets in with the kill onto Easy and downs the diffuser as well. So Dizlown and K6 now just need to keep themselves alive for as long as possible. With that diffuser not in hand, they have to take out the drones. They have to be careful not to allow too much information against them. And the push is coming completely from Teller's side. EIZ getting himself into sight now, but they still need to reclaim this diffuser, and great job here by K6 and Dizlown just to keep themselves alive right there in the back of Archives. That is the diffuser down again. It seems like a poison chalice at the minute. K6 taking Rykos down. EIZ moving in with a kill onto Dizlown. Does get the diffuser collected and is, and will go for the plant now, and will no doubt see it successful. K6 is just going to hold his angle here in case anybody moves across to try and get away from that plant spot. And as they do, he takes shots, but that just allows EIZ to know his location. K6, however, somehow takes the head off EIZ. I really wouldn't have put him to win that fight there, as he knew exactly where the dock was. He's going to juice himself up with his last stim pistol. He's looking too high as he moves around this corner. Is he going to get the view? I don't think he is. No, he does. He manages to drop down and get the shots. That's unbelievable. He's got time. What a finish by K6. 1 versus 2 clutch with the diffuser down. Both operators from Dizlown knew exactly where the dock was coming from, but just couldn't beat him in the gunfights. How about that?
Wow. Well, as you said it yourself, that first firefight as he peeked around the corner, I would have never imagined he would have taken that, but he does. He stims back up, he peaks too high, and he takes the second frag as well. Spots the Claymore, which I know would have fell a lot of other players, but brilliant, brilliant retake there. And for the first time on Bank, Supremacy claw their way into the lead against a team that has so far done really, I wouldn't say too many things wrong. Dizlown have been brilliant, much better than they've seen, I would say, on certain bits of Villa, and that they did bring 2 overtime. You know, I don't think this is over yet. I think Dizlown still have that creativity, still have that possibility to bring this out and bring this to at least overtime and potentially that third map as well, as this is a best of 3 and it's unlimited OT. Do not forget that, as I never will. But we head back up to this top floor. This is a more familiar setup, as we said. They're rolling with the double hard destruction. They've got the IQ as well, so they're going to try and pick apart those Echo drones that have so far been a bit of trouble for them too. But here comes those castle walls, here comes the reinforcement, and it's really, really great to see from both teams.
I feel like I lacked a little bit of hype on that last one, but I was just so surprised on. But I was like just expecting to be like, yeah, they've picked K6 up as he moves around the corner, and each time he absolutely amazed me by getting the kill, especially coming across that final one. His ADS was so much above the prone player, he really didn't expect them down there. It was almost a drop shot on his part to get himself out of the line of fire and get down and get that kill. So great plays from K6 there, definitely worth a watch back, I'm sure, at some point in future, because that was unexpected to say the least. So we're going to see a top floor objective now. This is going to be the first time for Supremacy trying to hold this, and we will see what they can do with it. There's less dependent on the roam game here and more dependent on holding the top floor. As you can see, we've got 4 out of 5 operators all upstairs. In fact, we've got 5 out of 5 operators all upstairs. We're looking at largely a turtle defense, which is not as I say, too much of a surprise on this site. They're just going to want to keep themselves safe from those windows. They're certainly not going to want to be giving away easy kills on the CEO windows, which is also easy sometimes, but I think they're going to be looking potentially for an impact trick to keep those hard walls closed.
Well, he can see Sets is taking control of stock. Oh, the bullets fly, but unfortunately they do not catch. It's just a bit too deep. He's going to pull out of stock after making his presence known with his sightlines open and find another way round. Easy is looking to start breaking down those big back walls straight into the office itself, and here it comes. EIZ is watching for a potential jump out, which is not out of a lot of the players' ballpark, especially Alive. We have seen the Caveira do a similar jump out before and not fully get punished for it too, so it's not the biggest surprise. Alive is currently sitting on half health, but there's a minute 30, and I think at this point this is the longest amount of time we've had until anyone goes. But then Eisen just takes care of two people. Alive and Dejure's dropped from deep. They're hanging on that main lobby entrance, and the pressure is building. Sets is flickering on a tiny amount of health as the Echo gets steadily shot down from stock side. Rykos is beaten apart as well, and there is Tactus with just a double. Just peeks out against the hard wall and takes a double. Easy and Rykos finally beaten down, and it is swapped back down to a 2 versus 3. It was K6 that was currently dug in and watching stock. My mistake, but here comes a bit more pressure now from Banana as the classical music plays in the ears. Poseidon is dug on elevators, waiting for the whip to come from the peak, and there it is. Poseidon tears Eisen across, and it is EIZ left alive with 30 seconds. Pre-fires a couple of shots towards a man who is there and only suffers pure flecks of paint. Not enough to break him, and there's 25 seconds. They know exactly where this Ash is. The Ash still has all utility ready for this push, and they're going to try and creep around to pick up the cold diffuser and break across this point. Worried about this peek out from stock, from janitors that has been done a couple of times. Instead, they're going to go straight through, and K6 is going to lock down that round for Supremacy and bring us back to match point.
K6, Tactus, and Poseidon absolutely dominating that site there. 5 versus 3, they were having absolutely none of it, and they just stepped up and really turned that man count around very quickly for Supremacy. And I'm a little bit worried for Dizlown here. They got themselves into a very good position there, but on match point, I think the nerves start kicking in. All of a sudden, you remember exactly what there is to lose here, and this could be a difficult round for them. Supremacy are back downstairs. It's a good site for defenders, and I think Dizlown, this is make or break time now.
Well, this is it, as you've said. I mean, to be fair, they were in this exact same position on the previous map. They were on a 6-3 even. They were in a worse position, and then they pulled it back to the 6-6 to at least battle it out. And as I've said a couple of times, it's not over for them. They're bringing the double hard. They're pushing against this basement point. The basement, which they did take on their first attacking round as well. You know, I think if there's any way they can do it, this is maybe it, because not only is it one that they've taken, they've got that mental game, they can throw themselves into it. It's one that Supremacy have taken as well, and they have a habit of getting a bit overconfident, which they did when they were previously on match point as well, and they started just dropping rounds and dropping fights that when they were a bit more heated and there was a bit more to kind of play for, they were winning and they were locking those down. So this could be good news for Dizlown.
It was a good defense last time out from Supremacy. They lost the first round, won the second when they were on this site, and really the big difference was the adjustment from Supremacy. They basically forwent map control. They didn't bother trying to hold it. They just gave that up, and it looks like they're going to be doing similar again now. I can't see any major roam presence there from Supremacy. They were happy to do that and play on site. We can see we've got the Echo down there in Garage, and that just halted that Garage push that Dizlown used so well previously. And then they just really were more aggressive in the defense. That was the thing. First round Supremacy sort of allowed them into Garage, allowed them down to the bottom of main stairs, and from there things got very difficult. But they were having absolutely none of that last time when they did win this side, and that was basically every time feet went onto the main stairs at elevators, somebody was there hassling and challenging them. There was a Yorkar drone there to call that out, and it made it very difficult. We can see some good early progress from Dizlown. They're confident that there's nobody to challenge them up around the map. They're going to clear more off that open area and just have a little look at stairs, but they won't find anybody there, as Supremacy are much deeper inside than that.
Well, you can see Alive is and trying to get as much information. K6 is holding that very aggressively on server room stairs, and this is one of those places I know people try and converse about where to keep Ella and what Ella can kind of bring, and I think this is a great location for Ella, because knowing that she's there and knowing that she will definitely have Grismotted up that door, and there's ADSs, there's a shield, as soon as you try and push it, you're going to be in a little bit of a tough spot. They trigger it. The sisterly versus sisterly combat has come to fruition now, and this is the pressure that's instantly coming. Pulse is feeding that, and K6 just has to pull out of there. Not going to throw it away. I do kind of question where the shield was. I think it was a little bit far forward and a little bit flat compared to where it could give themselves a little bit more of a sightline round. But here it comes. The battle and the ballasts are broken down. That top diffuser goes down, and yet again, Alive is buried behind those servers where he was before, and he did get almost a double kill from it.
Certainly did. So we now come to the real sharp end of this round. We are down to the final minute. It is all or nothing here for Supremacy. They are going to be desperate to just get this finished out. We can see Alive holding this location in the servers, just putting shots on. He knows there's somebody at the bottom of stairs. He knows that he's potentially being pushed from dirt corridor as well, but he's just going to hold himself in for as long as he can. He will get one kill onto Eisen. Meanwhile, he gets one onto K6. Alive with a second. He cannot be rooted out of servers. That's a kill onto Rykos. However, Sets gets down the main stairs and will take out the Echo of Poseidon, so that leaves us now 3 on 3. This could not be closer. The tension is mounting. This is unbelievable. Alive getting onto that heartbeat scanner just to try and see where any of the remaining Dizlown players are. 15 seconds to go. They are leaving themselves with it all to do. Easy drops, but will be down by D-Shoes. That's surely going to be the match, as that's the diffuser as well. He drops and gets the kill onto Alive. That leaves us 2 versus 2. 2 versus 1 as D-Shoes gets the kill onto Sets. Tactics finishes things off, and that is it. Supremacy take the match. They take the match, and that will be 2-0. CCS EU Season 2 champions, Supremacy.
Well earned is all I can say. Now, they put up a hell of a fight. Dizlown, again, they stepped up in a lot of positions. A lot of people wrote them off quite early on in this, and I saw when we started this final, people in chat were saying, who are they? And against a team like Supremacy, it's a hard thing to do, but they made a mark. They showed what they can do. They take a deserved second place. But your winners today and for the season of EU CCS is Supremacy, a team with lineage, a team with history, and now a team with a little bit more money.
Absolutely. $5,000 go to the winner, I believe, out of that $10,000 prize pool. So what a night's work for Supremacy. Congratulations to those guys. It was a hard-fought victory. As you said, Dizlown played their part admirably in what was a very, very entertaining final. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I really could not have called which way it was going to go. I really thought we were headed to a third map. Dizlown came out so strong on Bank, and I really thought that they were going to take the advantage there and get themselves onto that decider. But tonight, it just wasn't to be, and I think they can go away with their heads held high tonight.
Oh, definitely, definitely. They showed a lot of impressive abilities, and obviously, as we said a couple of times, they were an academy team, and then they kind of became an actual team, and the A team, and they're just improving, and they're getting better and better and better. And to come in second place with the kind of record of picking up a space where there was a team in your space before, which is a lot of confusing words to say, I understand. It is fantastic of them, and they are only going to find more and more ground, more and more wins, and more podium positions. And I think they can be very, very proud. And we say this about the team in second as well. Same for Epsilon, who are a team, obviously, that they've come through with CCS history. They've battled against, players that have been on the biggest stage around. And they managed to take that third place. And they did it very convincingly in a lot of places. They've really lit up, especially the way it's gone today.
Indeed, yeah, absolutely agree with everything you say there, Fluke. It's just what an advert again for Siege. We look across the quality that we've got through Challenger League, through CCS, through other leagues that are being set up, and here in CCS, Supremacy, Dizlown coming together for a fantastic final. We've got Epsilon there putting in a great performance as well. It really has been an absolute joy. Extreme play in their part, just unfortunately falling short tonight. But when that's your top 4 in CCS, what does that say, for the league? And I'm sure CCS is going to be coming back for another season of EU. A lot of these teams are going to be competing again, I'm sure, and we're going to have this quality growing and growing season on season.
Definitely, definitely. But as we have said and as we have wrapped up, as far as EU goes, that has been our season. It has been an absolute pleasure and a joy to work through it. All of the teams that participated, I know we've suffered a couple of teams dropping out, but there have been more than enough to try and fill those spaces and fill those gaps. And obviously, as with any end of season, you can only thank all of the players, all of the coaches, all of the staff from each individual organization and just non-organizations for doing their part. And also a big thank you to all of our partners here at CCS as well. Mapban, Origin GG, our French sister site E6, and the Strafe app, where we've already commented on our terrible, terrible scores for casters. And speaking of Ace, it has been an absolute pleasure working alongside you tonight, and a big shout out to our two usual compatriots, that's the word, Sternab and X, who unfortunately, they were just watching tonight. They didn't get the joy of casting the final.
And what a joy it was. Thank you very much, Fluke. It's been an absolute pleasure to cast it alongside you. And, you know, a big shout out to the production staff. Bond on the production always does a fantastic job. Affy, great observing as well. I'm sure we'll miss people, but all the admins, all the staff at CCS, everybody who does such a good job to make this happen, thank you so much for doing so. It really wouldn't happen without everybody. It's been a great season. Make sure to go and check out the Twitter, follow the Twitch, make sure that you're there for all those announcements that will come about the following season. And don't forget, we've still got the NA finals.
So we will see you in the chat of the NA finals as we relax and have a nice drink, I think is called for. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next season, EU.
I still remember how it used to be, holding hands, running wild and free. Crossed our hearts, said we'd never let go. I still think about our younger days, how we dreamed about a better life. Holding you so close to me, in the backseat of your ride. We fell apart, thought we lost everything, just lost in our memory. And I sure hope you do remember me like I remember you. Like I remember you. Like I remember you. We drew our names in the pavement, thinking about how we never change. I still remember how it used to be. I still think about our younger days, how we dreamed about a better life. Holding you so close to me, in the backseat of your ride. We fell apart, thought we lost everything, just lost in our memory. And I sure hope you do remember me like I remember you. Like I remember you. to know something.